Hey, this is Cal Robinson, and I'd love to talk to you for just a minute about my painful tendonitis story. This may affect you, especially if you're over 60 and take Rosuvastatin or any other statin drug for cholesterol control or Tamsulosin for prostate swelling reduction. In fact, I want to caution everyone taking any medication to start a journal of new symptoms after starting any of these new medications. This journal needs to indicate and include what dates the medications were started, what other medications you are on, and when the new symptoms occurred, as well as what other contributing factors are possibly involved in your symptoms. This journal needs to be discussed and shared with your doctor if you want your doctor to fully understand and fully evaluate your health situation. I've been a frequent walker for exercise for years, but I recently started walking a bit more due to finally retiring from my retirement job and the desire to stay fit as well as to lose some weight prior to upcoming travel that may maybe require lots of walking as well as involve delicious food that I would definitely be indulging in. So walking is something that I felt would get me prepared. It had not been unusual for me to walk 1 to 3 miles at a time for quite some time previously. But in the early summer of 2025, I started to walk 3 to 5 miles, and then I upped it to 5 to 7 miles, depending on how I felt and how the day was. I was feeling great. I felt good about my exercise. It was making me feel physically good as well as mentally well, and I thought I was getting ready for my trip to Canada at the end of July. Around the first part of July, I was walking, and it was a very nice day, so I did the old Forrest Gump and just kept walking. I finally decided to stop walking at 10 miles. I went home and noticed I felt tired, but no pain or injury. And after drinking some water and resting a while, cooling off a bit on my porch, I stood up and I noticed that my right Achilles tendon was painful. Very painful when I got up to walk. This was not normal, but I played it off that I may have, overdone it a bit. 10 miles was a little more than usual. So I rested my Achilles tendon for a few days. But the painful soreness didn't seem to go completely away. I decided to take a short, slow walk one day after that, and it felt fine for a short distance, and then the pain returned. I ended up trying to rest my Achilles tendon the rest of July to get ready for my trip to Banff, Alberta. I felt pretty good when the trip started, but after my flight to Denver and then from Denver to Vancouver, sitting on the plane, not moving, I noticed that pain had returned to my Achilles tendon when I got up to walk to get off the plane. And I found it difficult to walk without a pronounced limp. I had taken some anti-inflammatory medications with me, and so I started those, and that seemed to help just a little. I basically limped my way through Canada, wondering how I had injured my Achilles tendon so badly with no real recollection of any significant reason for it. I got home from Canada and knew that I had 1 month to get ready for a trip of a lifetime to Scotland. I wanted my Achilles well so I could fully enjoy it. So I went out and bought orthotics for my feet, figuring it may be related to plantar fasciitis. I've had that in the past. It was a little different symptoms from the past, but I think it could be related. And the orthotics seemed to help a little. And then I talked to my brother-in-law, who's an exercise physiologist, and he recommended this stretching regimen, which I implemented as well. That also seemed to help a little. But if I walked any distance, I would begin slowing down, and I ended up limping to try to keep up with anyone I was walking with. I thought about all that had happened and decided I need to think outside the box a little bit. I reasoned that I had really done nothing so unusual to cause such a significant injury. Maybe I needed a cortisone shot. I researched that and found that is absolutely not recommended for a tendon issue involving your Achilles tendon. Stretches were recommended, and I was doing those thanks to the advice from my brother-in-law. Then I decided to look up side effects of my medications. I sort of thought this was futile, but had to be done if I was really going to figure out a solution to my problem. I was not prepared for the surprise in what I found. Not only was one of my medications known to cause Achilles tendon problems, two of them were. They also were more likely to cause problems in people over 60, and especially for people over 65. Well, I turned 67 next week. I got a hit on the side effects of Tamsulosin, Tamsulosin, that includes Achilles tendon pain. And I read an article on that from the National Institute of Health and ehealth.com. The kicker is that my doctor referred me to a urologist simply because he was not seeing any issues at all in my prostate, and he thought that might be a little unusual in a man my age, and he wanted a second opinion of a specialist. So I went to a urology specialist to be checked out. The specialist found that I really had no significant swelling, but he advised me that maybe I should just go ahead and start taking Tamsulosin, commonly known as Flo Max, as more of a preventative, since it really wouldn't hurt. Now, I wish I'd never started it. Not only was I experiencing tendon issues, I was always dizzy, which was another of the side effects, and I would get lightheaded if I stood up too fast, another of the side effects. Why was I on this drug anyway if I had no real prostate symptoms? Then I looked up Rosuvastatin, one of the statin drugs for high cholesterol. I found it too, as well as the other statins, can cause Achilles tendon pain. I was on Rosuvastatin because my cholesterol was somewhat high, but I never had any other issues related to high cholesterol than high numbers. I also noticed that my lab numbers on many other things tend to be outside the normal ranges. But you know, people are different. I decided to go off both these medications, and in less than a week, I've experienced a remarkable recovery in my Achilles tendon pain and tenderness. I'm looking forward to my trip to Scotland without dread about my ability to walk. I will address these medications and my tendon health with my doctor when I return. I urge each one of you to listen to what I've experienced and take note of your personal interactions with your medications. The doctors only know what we tell them, along with what they see when they have a checkup with us. This information, though, may drastically change my treatment going forward, and is information the healthcare provider certainly must know to effectively treat me as I age. So start your journal and map your journey in healthcare with your physician today. Thank you.